Imagine pulling into a gas station, only to find cars lined up around the block. Some people waiting for hours, others pushing their cars by hand because they'd run out of fuel. This wasn't a movie scene. It was real life in 1973, when the world faced one of the biggest economic shocks of the 20th century, the oil crisis. The story begins in the Middle East. Oil wasn't just another resource. It had become the lifeblood of the modern world by the 1970s. Cars, factories, airplanes, and even electricity systems in many countries depended on cheap oil, mostly imported from the Arab nations. But this dependence came with a risk, and in October 1973, that risk turned into reality. The Yom Kippur War broke out, with Egypt and Syria launching a surprise attack on Israel. The United States and several Western countries supported Israel with military aid. In response, the Arab members of OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, decided to use oil as a weapon. They cut oil production and placed an embargo on nations that backed Israel. Almost overnight, the steady flow of cheap oil that the West had relied on slowed to a trickle. The price of oil didn't just rise, it exploded. Within months, oil went from around $3 a barrel to nearly $12. That's a 400% increase. Gasoline shortages spread across the United States and Europe. Long lines at gas stations became a daily sight. Some stations ran out of fuel entirely. POSDING signs that read "No gas today." Speed limits were reduced. Daylight saving time was extended. And governments begged citizens to conserve energy. For ordinary families, it felt like the world had turned upside down. Suddenly, commuting to work or planning a road trip became a serious financial burden. But the crisis wasn't just about waiting in line for gas. It reshaped the global economy. Inflation skyrocketed as the cost of energy pushed up the price of everything else from food to manufactured goods. Unemployment rose, and a new term was born: stagflation, a painful mix of stagnant growth and high inflation. Meanwhile, all rich nations in the Middle East suddenly found themselves flush with wealth. Petrodollars flowed into their economies, funding massive infrastructure projects and forever shifting the balance of global power. The oil crisis forced governments and companies to rethink their dependence on foreign oil. Investments in alternative energy, nuclear power, and fuel efficiency began to grow. Smaller, more efficient cars replaced the gas-guzzling giants of the past. Perhaps most importantly, the world realized just how vulnerable it was when a single resource could be used as a geopolitical weapon. The 1973 oil crisis wasn't just about gas lines. It was about how fragile modern life had become. One shock to the system, and the entire global economy trembled. Oil isn't just energy, it's leverage, it's power, and it changes history. The crisis of 1973 proved that once. Could it happen again? Let's talk in the comments.